Well, simply put, because there's no freaking drops, it's worthwhile for me to make one. There's no, that's why there wasn't a video about the LCQ, the Halloween pumpkin LTQ. And that's really why there is. But I mean, all in all, we'll dive in here and we'll kind of address, if it was a good LTQ or not. Which I mean, we knew it was new. I applauded the fact that at least it was different. When we saw it being, it was going to be introduced, we saw a preview of it. I announced the fact that it was going to be different. That was a good thing, right? That was a good thing. But well, it's all in all, is it great? Does it live up to everything that we thought it would be? Well, let's find out, I guess. But first, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps out tremendously. Thank you very much. So this week we got the new LTQ, and this one is called the Sweets Panic. Okay, Sweets Panic here is a different LTQ, and the plus side, the biggest plus side that you will see just straight off the jump, is that Room Masqueraders in it. This alone in itself makes the LTQ get a bit more points because they put Room Masquerader in here. You also see here on the menu that they drop a lot of stuff, including the Crest Cubes. So if you still need Crest Cubes, if you're looking for Crest Cubes, if you're trying to upgrade to Zenith, then you have Crest Cubes in this, whereas a lot of these LTQs previously did not have Crest Cubes in them. And I don't believe even the most recent LTUQ even had Crest Cubes in it, did it? I can't remember. But nonetheless, you have Crest Cubes in here. Of course, you have some new rings that were released this week as well. So these will be in here as well too. So now we have another group of rings that have been added to the previous basic set of rings that we had prior. So now you have some more combinations and whatnot to pick and choose here. But ultimately, this LTQ was, well, like I said, the drops are not really anything over the top there. And all in all, it's still played by the same play that we have of NGS being NGS, and nothing really actually ever moving forward with NGS. I mean, we're still in alpha. So, I said this before in a previous video months back that until we're off alpha, which we never will be, ultimately that will always be an issue. There will always be an issue because nothing new is actually being presented. But, of course, there's some good things that come here and there. I thought the skill ring system was neat. The EX style system was neat. But, of course, all this stuff is very short-lived, always. They rotate out of this stuff real quick, and it doesn't really have time to linger on because there's not a whole lot of milkiness and meat to really, keep it together, quite frankly. That's kind of the issue there, but that's kind of the stage that we talked about this before. They're kind of in a milking stage in the game. Talked about this before. That's largely contributed by rough things that happened during the early years of the game, and of course the issue with the global community pretty much devoiding the company of all those potential funds and revenue that would come from the global side, which were non-existent because the community was led to spiral. But nonetheless, the LTQ here is a fairly neat one. It's if we're putting it on the scope of LTQs of like just objectively speaking, the LTQs that we have gotten, this is a higher ranking one, I would say. If we're looking at it objectively, from unbiased or we're not just looking at it, it's a fairly decent LTQ. So it's pretty straightforward. There's going to be a set of compartmental rooms that are going to hold bosses and mobs. And you're pretty much going to run through this area here, and you're going to attack mobs on the outside, and then go into these compartmental rooms and defeat these bosses and mobs on the inside. You're going to be paused at one point for some rappies that you're going to kill, and then it's going to trigger like a little mini PSE burst within the LTQ itself, which is pretty neat. I'm not sure if we've ever had like a mini PSE burst since I have an LTQ. Can't recall, I can't remember. But nonetheless, this is a pretty neat aspect as well. It's pretty straightforward in that, it's a lot of gameplay. It's combat. So it feels good to really just go in there and dive in with your character and just have that gameplay and mechanic to really just highlight it. And you're going to fight some fun bosses. You'll see, what's his name, Dustul or the Hezrig, which is the enhanced version, the Starless version. You'll see that guy. You'll see the big little flying moth guy. I can't remember the name of this guy. Whatever. And you'll see Masquerader. I believe you see someone else too. Oh, and the bears. You get the double bears as well. So it's a pretty neat LTQ. Pretty straightforward. You collect pumpkin points throughout the LTQ. So this also coincides with that little mini PSE that you get, which is going to help those points be increased. And then at the very end, you're going to open up some containers that will give you some extra rewards and materials. So naturally, if you're just like AFKing at the end or AFKing at the front, then you won't get those at the very end. Because you have to go to the end to actually interact with those. That's good too. But nonetheless, the drops in this thing are not that great because I mean they're really more the same. And of course, at least everything in the game has been made so easily. Everything drops super easily now. So you pretty much already have all this stuff anyway, right? You pretty much already have all this stuff anyway. So the drops aren't really much of anything. Of course, there's ticket vouchers in here, tickets and vouchers in here for the scratch that's currently going on, which is the Halloween scratch down here, right? The Halloween 25 scratch. So you'll find these in there as well. So that's something that you can be looking forward to or trying to get. So you're trying to spend something on there if you're looking for some of these camos in here, some of these items, or maybe you're trying to get some of these star gems down here. The 100 star gems, of course, is always a nice thing. But that's reason and incentive to do it. But all in all, the drops are nothing spectacular. Of course, the rings are definitely a highlight to do so because the rings are still super expensive. Pretty much all the rings are still sitting, 20, 30, 40 mil. Probably, I would probably say on ship one, I think maybe, more so averaging around 30, 40 mil. So, of course, that's a big payday, of course, if you get one of those rings, because, of course, people need them to enhance, assuming that people still need them. But, of course, people do still need them because they're rare and they give buffs, and you need multiple copies of them in order to enhance to max level. So this does give a chase item for you to dive into inside this LTQ if you want to run it on repeat while you're farming tickets as well and get some extra materials. But all in all, it's still played by the same issue of the fact that it's just an LTQ that does not have a whole lot of um drop value. There's not a whole lot going on right now. And then of course, of course there's been games that have recently released that have definitely split the want or time, wanted or needed into this game, of course, into NGS. That's natural, of course. I don't think you should ever, at least not in the past 2 or 3 years, you should never have like NGS as your primary only game that you play because you can't, especially in the past like 2 years. It's been very leaning into a milking state in those past 2 years. So if you only have NGS as your only game that you're playing, then naturally you're definitely going to feel it much more with the lack of, with the maybe dissatisfaction or whatnot. You're definitely going to feel it a lot more. But of course, I play a multitude of games, so it's not really something I heavily feel. I appreciate things when they do things correctly, and of course, when they don't do things correctly, then of course you hear me speak about it. But nonetheless, objectively speaking, the LTQ is a fun one. It's a good one, objectively speaking. However, per usual, not a whole lot of reason to be running it. Right? There's not a whole lot of incentive, which of course has been a frequent reoccurring stance in this game for some time now. But there's not a whole lot of incentive to run it, quite frankly. So while it is an objectively fun LTQ, maybe I run it a day. Here lately, I haven't even been running it. Here lately, I've just been hopping on and doing dailies and then hopping off. To be quite frank, I'm just being honest with y'all. Trying to make you feel any certain type of way or whatever. Just being honest. That's what's really been on here lately because I don't have a whole lot to chase. I mean, of course, I still need a ring. I do still need a ring for sure. So that's definitely something that needs to happen. But is it something that needs to be prioritized for me right now? No, because I mean, I have top level gear, I have top level elements. I don't have much to use it on, right? So until they release like another new high tier boss for me to grind or something, then yeah. But there's not a whole lot of reason for me to um try to rush the ring, right? When I'm set across the board. You know what I'm saying? If you have top odds across the board, you know what I'm saying, you don't need to be rushing on the ring. Now if you don't have top odds across the board, it's still something for you to work on, then you should work on that. But I mean if you have top odds, like many of us do, especially as grinders, then naturally, we know that they don't really cater to veteran players. They're more so just constantly trying to pull in new players, so you grab them into the web for a couple months, and then they cycle out. And then new player, they always cater to new players, everything super easy, super casual. They don't really cater to veteran players, and that's been one of the biggest downfalls there. But nonetheless, it's an interesting LTQ, but ultimately it just falls under that same umbrella that we are typically under. So we'll look forward to the next thing that's coming up, of course. But if you want to run it, if you're grinding, if you still need some new materials, if you just really want to grind it, the crest cubes or the rings, it is an enjoyable LTQ to grind, for sure. It's just, there's a limited incentive there, depending on where you're at on your gaming journey and your gearing journey in here. That's pretty much the easiest way to put it. Anyway, y'all, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you were enjoying the Sweets Panic LTQ. All the above, any questions you have or whatnot. And I will see you on the next one. Much love. Spike content.